Yes, sir.
Glenn said he'll put that up and advance it, or
I can't hear.
Look like it, man. Anyone else on the call here?
Goodbye. Call cannot be completed as dialed. Please welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
So can those on the phone hear us? We
can hear you now.
Okay, thanks, Russell. All right, thank you all for bearing with us this evening. We were in closed session, first of all, and then we were working through some technology pieces. So, again, thank you for bearing with us and welcome. This is the Board of Education meeting for Monday, September 28th, 2020. Charlie, if you can call the roll.
Ms. Drake?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Roby?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Westfall?
Present.
Mr. Kerberg?
Here, we have a quorum. Can you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. All right. So, President's comments. So, we start with this, Tom, and then we'll go to the special recognitions afterwards? Sure. Perfect. All right. So, a couple of things. First, I want to make some congratulatory and very significant remarks about our National Merit semifinalists. Congratulations to Plainfield East High School seniors, Samya Madhan, Jeffrey Tilkin, and Ibrahim Yosef, who are among about 16,000 National Merit Scholarship 2021 semifinalists nationwide. They will compete for 7,600 National Merit Scholarship Awards worth about $30 million. The awards will be announced next spring. This is the 66th year of this prestigious program, which honors academically talented high school seniors. To become a National Merit semifinalist, students must have an outstanding academic record throughout high school, be endorsed and recommended by the school principal, and earn SAT scores that confirm the student's earlier qualifying performance. The pool of semifinalists comprises less than 1% of all United States high school seniors and includes the highest scoring entrants in each state. So again, kudos to those three outstanding students. Moving on to National Merit Commended students. Congratulations to our 12 students who are in National Merit Commended status. Although they will not continue in the 2021 competition for National Merit Scholarships, about 34,000 commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. And these students by school at Plainfield High School Central Campus, Serena Ketter and Kendillium Okoye. At Plainfield South High School, Isabel Gallegos and Brianna Worthley. At Plainfield North High School, Maya Carden, Braden Fike, Daniel Gall, Colin Holsqua, Alexa Lowell, Kaushik Bulgari, and Nicholas Trapp. And at Plainfield East High School, Kyle Clark. And our AP scholars, congratulations to the 329 District 202 graduates and current students who were named 2020 AP scholars based on their performance on the advanced placement exams given during the 2019-2020 school year. We cannot obviously read all 329 names tonight, but please check out the story in the news section of the District 202 website and all the high school websites. So again, congratulations to all of those students for a job well done and for all of their hard work. We here on the Board of Education and the administration are incredibly proud of all of you. So we have some guests with us tonight as well to accept some awards that would have been given out last spring as part of our regular Awards of Excellence ceremony. That obviously couldn't happen, but we still wanted to recognize and honor these two outstanding staff members. Our guests are here in the boardroom with us, and then they will be leaving the meeting after we are done with this specific part of the agenda. We assure the audience watching this meeting online that our guests are socially distanced and wearing masks as requested. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kerberg and board members. I would ask Mr. Westfall to come up as the chair of the board's recognition committee. Tonight we want to recognize two exemplary staff members. And again, as Mr. Kerberg said, we would have done this in April had everything been, all things being equal, but here we are in September, and we're happy to do this now. The Elizabeth Best Eichelberger Distinguished Service Award was created in 2009 after Mrs. Eichelberger passed away to honor those people who embody Bess's spirit of community service. Mrs. Eichelberger was a Plainfield area icon who is renowned for her passion for volunteerism. Among many, many roles that she served nearly 26 years on the Board of Education, then continued as one of the 2 board ambassadors until her passing. Tonight, we present the 13th Annual Eichelberger Award to former Plainfield Academy principal and Plainfield Lions Club and Friends for Charitable Giving member Todd Schnowski. Todd? Todd has earned community-wide praise for his community involvement and his advocacy for Plainfield Academy, which is District 202's alternative middle and high school. He is currently serving as the dean of Plainfield Central High School, but served as principal at Plainfield Academy from 2004 until this year. He started in District 202 in 2001. Todd has been an active member of numerous community service organizations, including the Kiwanis, the Rotary, the Lions Club, the Plainfield Art League, and the C.W. Avery YMCA Board. As well, he has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants and through community fundraisers to service students with disabilities, students at risk, and expressive arts therapy and arts awareness programs. Todd is also a renowned community artist. Todd has donated many of his works to raise money for various community causes and organizations. Mr. Schnowski is a man with big talent and an even bigger heart. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, next up is Paula Roble. Paula is the recipient for the 5th Annual Cheryl Riccardi Award. Cheryl started working in District 202 in 1996 as a social worker. She lost a courageous 2-year battle with breast cancer in 2012. She worked at all school levels, but her passion was working with high school students. During her District 202 career, Mrs. Riccardi initiated several unique programs, including an after-school breakdance group for at-risk teens, the Catalyst program that now runs in all of District 202's high schools, and the annual Yellow Ribbon Run to raise money for suicide awareness. Mrs. Riccardi also presented at professional workshops and continued to work after getting ill with dignity, grace, courage, and tremendous strength. The 5th Annual Award honors a school-level certified student service worker who exhibits extraordinary dedication to students. Central Elementary School social worker Paula Roble is certainly one of those people. Paula came to District 202 in 2007. All 8 of the nominations that she received for this award speak to her dedication, service, and love for her students, their families, and the community. She earned praise for her easy rapport with her students and the degree to which she gets to know them as individuals to better support and serve them. One of her peers wrote, "I am always in awe of the way she is able to guide parents through difficult times. She shows compassion so that they feel like they're in a safe place." Likewise, Paula has sacrificed personal time and resources to help families outside of school. Another peer wrote, "I feel she is an asset not only to our school, but to the entire district," and we agree. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Kerberg, and Mr. Westfall, thank you very much. Fingers crossed, next spring we'll be in an auditorium someplace doing this again.
Let's hope. We all want to be back in person. Well, again, congratulations, Todd and Paula. Thank you both for your ongoing commitment to our students. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez, for organizing this once again for us. And thank you, Rod, for chairing the committee and putting all of this together. Job well done from all of you. All right, moving on down to recognition, 4.01, board salutes. Do any of my board colleagues have board salutes this evening? All right, hearing none. Special recognitions, again, other than what we just did, as many of you know, ordinarily in regular board meeting times, we would bring other students and things to meetings. Again, as Tom just indicated, with getting back to in-person events, hopefully we will be able to do that, once again in the not too distant future. But in the meantime, we will still try to recognize accomplishments from our students in a variety of other ways that we can through press releases, comments like I made earlier, and social media. So congratulations to those that we recognized earlier. 5.01, public comment. Tonight, we have received through the email link that we have set up for public comment since we began the virtual meetings, we received 12 comments. Those were basically all related to e-learning and return to in-person learning. They basically broke down about 6 and 6 that were supportive of in-person learning, return to in-person learning as soon as possible, and 6 that were supportive of what we've been doing with remote learning. So thank you all for your public comments. I do want to assure you that the Board of Ed has received all of these. Each member of the Board of Ed has received these comments and has had an opportunity to review them as well. So please, again, continue to communicate with the Board of Ed as you have things that you would like us to become aware of. All right. All right, so moving to item 6 on our agenda, the consent agenda. First, there was a slight error in the language for 6.01. So I'm going to look for a motion to amend the agenda for item 6.01 so that it will read approval of policies that have been placed on 30-day public display. So can I get a motion? Bob, Rod, second. Charlie?
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes. Thank you very much. So now we have 3 items on the consent agenda for this evening. So I will we'll take all 3 of them together. Item 6.01 in its amended form is approval of policies that have been placed on 30-day public display. Policy 2:220, school board meeting procedures. Policy 4:180, pandemic preparedness, management and recovery. Policy 7:190, student behavior. Policy 7:340, student records. And policy 7:345, use of educational technologies, student data privacy and security, new. Policy 2:260, uniform grievance procedures. Policy 2:265, Title IX, sexual harassment grievance procedure. Policy 7:10, equal education opportunities, and policy 720, harassment of students prohibited. Item 6.02 is approval of the regular session minutes of August 17th, 2020, September 14th, 2020, and the special session minutes of September 1st, 2020, and September 9th, 2020. And item 6.03 is approval of the certified and non-certified personnel agendas, both as presented. Motion. Dave's motion.
Second.
Heather's second. Charlie, call the roll.
Ms. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes. Items passed. Thank you very much. Item 7 for Action Site and Finance Committee. Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Kerber. The Site and Finance Committee met this past Wednesday, September 23rd. There are 10 items that the committee is brought forth to the full board for approval tonight. And we'll start with the treasurer's report. We have a beginning balance cash and investments of $151,997,046.47. And we had revenues of $18,203,098.37. We had expenditures of $18,188,421.19 for an ending cash and investment balance of $152,008,001.50. 7.02, approval of acceptance of the treasury report. That is my motion.
Second. Dave's motion, Rod second. Charlie, call the roll.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Kerber.
Yes. Item passes.
7.03, approval of the acceptance of the amended treasurer's report for July 2020. That is my motion.
Dave's motion.
Second.
Rod second. Charlie, call the roll.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Roby,
Yes.
Mr. Kerber.
Yes. Item passes.
7.04, approval of the payment of bills in the amount of $11,424,376.17. That is my motion.
Dave's motion.
Second.
Rod second. Charlie?
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Roby,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Kerber.
Yes. Item passes.
7.05, approval of the adoption of the 2020-2021 budget. That is my motion.
Dave's motion.
Second.
Rod second. Any questions, or comments from the Board of Ed? Before we move to a vote?
Oh. What is the, or is this the budget? 2021.
For the current school year.
Yeah, for school year.
Yeah.
Are we looking at a balanced budget or?
So currently, it is a deficit budget, so, state law requires that we, formally adopt have a public hearing as we had earlier this evening, and then adopt the, budget before the end of September. But then we will be working with the administration to identify, strategies and recommendations for how to close that budget deficit that exists, in the coming weeks and months throughout this year. Any other questions, comments? All right, go ahead, Charlie.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Roby,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Kerber.
Yes, item passes.
7.06, approval of the vendor service amendment to agreement for transportation services for first student. That is my motion.
Dave's motion.
Second.
Rod second. Any questions or comments from the Board of Ed about this? I know we discussed it at the Finance Committee meeting last Wednesday, but any other questions or comments about it?
What is, Tony, what's the breakup that you?
Sure. We will be paying, per day when we are not in, school, so for remote learning, a total of, just over $17,000 per day. When we resume in-person learning, then we'll, put the, drivers for students that have the payroll, and then, total cost to just over $38,000 per day. And then we also will, pay the 20% profit on the buses the first students make, only on these buses that are running for the day. So if, just a grade level is brought back, then only the profit on those buses that ran to that grade level will be paid for that day.
So yeah, so we will not be, we're paying them less while we're in remote learning, and then we will not be paying profit on anything that's not actually delivered.
Correct, and first student is guaranteeing that they will have enough drivers for us to run all of our routes when we resume school.
Again, given what we just talked about with the existing budget deficit, as well as with the fact of, trying to preserve taxpayer dollars and use them most appropriately, I think this is, a good agreement that the administration has worked out to protect the district and the taxpayers as much as possible with not paying for anything that we're not actively utilizing at this point in time. Anything else with this? Okay, Charlie, call the roll.
Mr. Roby,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes.
7.07, approval of the contract extension for snow removal services with stream services with a $5 an hour increase on each service they provide. That is my motion.
Motion,
Second.
Rod, second. Charlie?
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes.
7.08, approval of the 10-year safety survey reports with corrections to be made for $64,440. That is my motion.
Dave's motion,
Second.
Rod's second.
Ms.
Sorry?
Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes.
7.09, approval of installations as submitted. That is my motion.
Dave's motion,
Second.
Rod's second. Charlie?
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes.
7.10, approval of acceptance of donations as submitted. That is my motion.
Dave's motion,
Second.
Rod's second. Charlie?
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes.
7.11, approval for the disposal of damaged and worn wrestling mats from each middle school. That is my motion.
Dave's motion,
Second.
Rod's second. Charlie?
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. Roby?
Yes.
Mr. Kerber?
Yes, item passes.
Mr. Kerber, that is it from site finance?
Thank you, Mr. Cook. So moving on to item 8, for Action Curriculum and Technology Committee, Mr. Smith?
Yes, we had 5 informational items. 802 was the school improvement plans of all 30 buildings. Overview of the improvement plans and the plans are based on the best practice research plans developed by leadership teams at each school, including staff, administration, and parent input. They are to bring some additional information to our October committee meeting. We will bring that for approval at that board meeting in October. 8.03, student ambassadors. We met 3 of our student ambassadors, 4 each from each high school, and they gave us some information about looking into student mentoring programs and work with schools related to counseling, transfer forums, and college applications focusing on seniors. I know Dr. Woods was going to be, his department was going to be looking at student services and trying to get some information out to parents on what help we could provide them with the FAFSA forms and college applications and short essays and so forth. Going to 8.04, achievement update, our ELL dashboard, grants placement data given to us. Also 8.05, our POW program of work, student services, remote learning update, and also 4th and 5th grade math initiatives will update on that information. And then 0.06, we're looking ahead to October, MS after you. We'll also be meeting with couple of the elementary buildings and probably one middle school on their school improvement plan this next month. That's all I have to report this time, Mr.
Great, thanks, Mr. Smith. And just going, following up on something that Bob had shared too, that if those of you on the call look back in the agenda, item 3.03, student ambassadors. Again, we didn't have anything this evening, but for those that have not followed our proceedings closely over the last couple of years, we have had, I think, a very worthwhile and successful initiative with our student ambassador program that the curriculum committee and curriculum and the technology oversee, where we involve some of our high school students in providing that feedback to the Board of Ed and making some recommendations on things. So we'll look forward to Bob and his committee continuing to work through those and then bringing those forward to the Board of Ed throughout the rest of the school year. Again, just did not have anything on the agenda tonight, but please look for those coming forward in the future. All right, so jumping on down to item 11 for action other, we have 11.01. And I move that the Board of Education approve and authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operations to execute the 3 lease purchase schedule to the master lease agreement dated August 25th, 2004 between Dell Financial Services and the school district for the finance lease of certain technology products at a cost not to exceed $2,964,240.80. So that would be my motion.
Second.
Rod seconds. Tony, do you just want to touch on this?
Sure. This is just authorizing the lease for the new computers that we had just ordered for the remaining students that do not have devices. Basically, those computers have been ordered. This just allows us now to finalize the lease and begin to make payments on that.
Any questions on the Board of Ed on that? We talked about that previously. All right, Charlie?
Ms. Drake,
yes,
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mr. Roby,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Kerberg.
Yes, item passes. All right, moving on down to item 12, which is for information, 12.01, update return 20 plan. So I will turn it over to Dr. Abril and his administrative team for more information.
Thank you, Mr. Kerberg. And Dr. Wood, would you place up the first slide, or Ms. Ward, of our slideshow here to start to unveil the information and what details we can at this time regarding our Return 20 plan. As we said earlier, when the district adopted or recommended a plan and the board endorsed a return plan to start fully remote, that we would evaluate the situation, the metrics, conditions, observations of other school districts that either had gone back in person fully or on some type of schedule. We would reevaluate our status on a 4 to 6 week window. We're at that time frame here, and I am pleased to announce that we will be able to start a slow, controlled, and moderate return to in-person learning and education for some select students. I want to caution everyone that it's not going to happen all at once for all grade levels, for all students. I would like that to happen. Others would like that to happen. But the conditions that we're in and the guidance that we need to follow for health and safety just will not allow that at this time. We need to build upon the success of each group coming back to in-person instruction, correct any issues or challenges that we face, and continue to march along and crawl before we walk and walk before we run. All of us understand the importance of having students face-to-face or in person with a teacher. There's no question about it. Remote learning is not a total substitute for being in school. I want to commend, though, our staff, our teachers, administrators working together to make remote learning the best that it can be. I believe that our teachers have hit a home run in what they have been doing. Certainly, any issues that we are facing are not because of lack of effort on anyone's part. We've been studying the issue to return in shifts or at whatever level we can since before the school year started. The variable was time and when we could do that. So we have monitored the situation. And Dr. Wood, would you like to go to the next slide for me there? And all of this information will be on our website, readily available. Mr. Hernandez and his Community Relations Department will be pushing this information out. It will be very easily accessible on our school website. So our return school year information for 2021 and our district return plan, again, can be found on the website, and the details, just some background. We have the Restore Illinois plan for the state of Illinois that our governor has endorsed and promoted. We currently are in phase 4 of that plan overall. And for us, that's meant remote learning and also the ability to transition to in-person and hybrid learning. And that's what we're first starting to do now and dip our toes into the water. I do want to caution everyone that as we do start to return, it's going to be a different environment for returning. It's going to be, more static, more sterile than what we all knew public education to be prior to March 16th, 2020. Dr. Wood, would you advance to the next slide? That should be our Plainfield return 20 plan, and we divided into phases within phase 4. We started in phase 4A, which is remote learning, and you can see the 3 areas underneath that. All students and teachers were in remote learning. Faculty and staff were intermittently working from assigned buildings. And as far as athletics go, we allowed participation as much as the IHSA would allow us to. As we start to move into phase 4B, students are into remote learning. We will start to slowly come back into in-person. Faculty and staff will be reporting to buildings at an assigned date soon prior to students returning. And then students will be invited to attend in person for special services or selected populations. Phase 4C, which is a little bit more down the road, would open up some more. Phase 5 would be full in-person learning and back to what is known or what we know as traditional attendance, traditional school, 6.5 hours a day, 5 days a week. Again, we will continue to evaluate in chunks of 4 to 6 weeks, all of the phases. Dr. Wood, would you please advance for me? And as you can see, we have some pluses and minuses for the remote learning. As I said, everyone has done a great job really with it. It's much improved than what it was in the spring when it was kind of emergency learning for e-learning. Positives and negatives have been, staff has had much more professional development upon Zoom or Google Hangout. Teachers have done an outstanding job teaching from either the classroom or their home if they've had to do it that way. Some of the negatives have been obviously the lack of face-to-face instruction, trying to address the social and emotional standards that could be done a little bit better in person as opposed to remote. Those have been some challenges in our first phase of our return. So getting into the meat and potatoes of it and some dates. What we can share is that the first group of students coming back into the building will be at the high school level taking the SAT on October 14th. As you can see, all staff report back to their assigned buildings on the 15th. And then tentatively on October 26th, our Tier 1 students, pre-K students with special education programming needs will report for in-person education. As we in the quarter, October 30th, the first quarter, we'll start to begin the second tier, which would be the week of November 2nd. We don't have a fixed date for that yet because of Election Day being in there and needing to see how things go with the group on October 26th. Then it will be the week of November 2nd, returning our pre-K and K students in groupings of either A or B students for scheduling purposes. And we will continue to build upon that. All parents will have the option of returning their student to in-person or staying with remote learning, no matter what date that they return or what grade level that their student may be in. We will be surveying parents, and they will need to provide to us, to the district, an intent to return. So we can know how to plan, we can know for scheduling purposes, we can know for staffing purposes, how many students will be returning in person and how many will be sticking with remote learning only. We will be surveying different groups and grade levels of students approximately 2 to 3 weeks before they are scheduled to return. It will not be a day before, it will not be 2 days before. We will not just, suddenly spring this, that all 3rd or 4th graders are able to return on X date. Parents will be made well aware for purposes of planning and making an informed decision or childcare. Dr. Wood, I believe last slide is where we're at. And we need to establish what the schedule or school day looks like. It's not going to be a traditional 6.5 or so hour a day. It will be a shortened day, probably modeled most likely out of our school improvement days, which we've had in the calendar for 2 to 3 years. Looking at an A-B grouping, there will be, as I said, parental choice, and students, if parents opt for remote learning for first semester, it will need to be for the remainder of first semester, and then they could return to in-person beginning second semester. But we do need a choice from parents or an indication as to whether their son or daughter or child's gonna continue with remote learning or come back for in-person. And again, I can't emphasize enough that it's tentative, the dates are tentative, this is the plan, there needs to be people who are gonna have to be flexible. Each group builds upon the success of the prior group coming back. If you look at other schools or districts that have come back, there's starts, there's stops, there's closures of a classroom, there might be closures of an entire building, while maybe the rest of the district can continue on. That inconsistency seems to be a consistent part of folks who have returned or who started the year to in-person instruction. Those fits, those stops. Unfortunately, it seems to be it's the new norm as we're in the pandemic and COVID-19 environment that schools and everyone finds themselves in. That is our presentation at this point. And the plan, again, information will be posted on our website. More information will be coming out in advance of other groups returning. And with that, I will ask board members if they have any comments or questions they would like to provide now.
Thank you, Dr. Averill. Appreciate that. A couple of questions. So as families are surveyed for for each of the tiers as we're approaching them coming back, the decision that is made, is it made for a semester or for the entire year?
I'm going to share the wealth a little bit, and while I certainly can answer that, I would like to ask Dr. Wood, our Associate Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, or Mrs. Griffith, our Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, to answer that.
Sure. It's for the first semester, Kevin, and then we would resurvey them for second semester.
Great. Thanks, Mike, or Glenn. And then specifically with the first tier, can you give some additional information on what special education programs would be included in that?
I'll defer to Mrs. Griffith on that, and that continues to involve, but certainly she can provide some baseline information on that.
We would be looking at our special education programs. So those can be defined more specifically by our multi-needs programs. So at the preschool level, the names of those programs are LEAP and multi-needs are STAR Plus. At elementary, the programs would be STAR Plus, FBI, Intensive, Project Class, and MAP. At middle school, it would be the same programs just listed. And then at high school, it would include our SCORE program and our P-STEP program. So Our P-STEP program is actually located at multiple locations in the district, so that would include our students that would typically be at JJC in our P-STEP program and our students at Plainfield Academy in the P-STEP program. So pretty specifically our multi-needs program. There will also be a select small group of students that would come in with that first group as well that are not in specialized programs. And those students would be identified by their schools as students that have significant physical impairments or other impairments that are making it very challenging for them to learn in a remote environment.
Thank you, Mina. And just a couple of other clarifying points too. I think the plan for beyond the week of November 2nd will continue to be provided and shared, as Dr. Abel said, in advance of when each group goes is targeted to return for additional grade levels. It becomes problematic to an extent is really sharing too much information too far out, given that we don't know what it will look like as we start to return students to in-person learning, as well as what all of the other external environment situations will look like. So again, everyone will receive ample advance notification for each of the subsequent grade levels, as we move through this process through the rest of the first semester, into January. Any other comments or questions from the Board of Ed for the administration? All right.
Well, we have a few comments.
Sure, go ahead, Mike, sorry.
I think first, I'd like to say that thanks to our teachers and the rest of the staff as a whole, who worked really hard to make remote learning a better experience this year. Heard a lot of positive comments on the improvements that have been made. And the plan to begin returning our students with the greatest need, or our youngest learners, our youngest students, is a good plan on the road to hopefully getting everyone back safely at some point. Of course, I would prefer a faster return with more students, but I think this is still a good, logical, reasonable plan that gives us an opportunity to continually assess, and it takes into account who should be returning first, or which students should be returning first. So that's a very positive thing to see. It'd be great to have everybody back, but if that's not possible, this is a good compromise. I think that it takes into account everyone's safety and the needs that our students have, and it still gives people a choice. So I'm thankful that we've got something that is going in a bit positive direction here.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate those comments. Anything else? Anyone?
No, I agree with Dr. Bowley that give the parents a choice. Vote for in-person teaching is very positive, and I also think that again, it would be nice to speed up the process, but again, carried out with special needs students first, and then working from there and seeing how those do pandemic. So again, I just want to thank the administration for putting this plan together. So it's a good plan.
Thanks, Bob. Any other comments? Questions?
Mr. Kerber, can I just add something about safety, because I know that's critically important at this point?
Yes, please.
We just want everyone to know there will be a description of the safety measures in the survey that will go out to parents. So we will be letting staff and families know about requirements for face coverings, hand sanitizing, self-certification before coming into school, traffic patterns for one-way traffic flow throughout the district. So there will be a description of all of those safety measures, but that was something that was really important to us, to have all of those safety measures in place before we brought students back. So when the survey comes out, that will be included on the first page of the survey. In addition, if parents are looking for some of the safety measures that have been put in place, such as our cleaning and sanitizing schedule, Our Community Relations Department is putting together a series of videos that some are currently available on the website, including pictures of different things that we're putting in place to make sure that we have a clean environment and that students and staff are safe. So I know last week, I believe we posted one on the cleaning methods that we're using. There's also pictures of plastic partitions that will be set up in classrooms, the floor decals. So just click onto the website so you can see some of those safety measures that we've put in place.
Great, thanks, Mina.
And Kevin, I would like to echo Mina's comments on that. And I know that some people think that, you know, it's just lip service or it's trite or whatever to say that, you know, when we say health and safety is our utmost concern, I believe we demonstrated that from the very beginning as we took, yes, a conservative approach and started in remote learning. Our return plan has, you know, caution and a conservative return process and building upon groups and to get larger and more. It's not as fast as any of us would like it, but it's as fast as we believe in the environment that we've got. Being a large unit district takes a long time to turn this ship, this boat. We're not a high school district only. We're not an elementary district only. And the large unit districts throughout the state of Illinois takes more pieces of the puzzle, and it gets the devil in the details even more for all of this. So we do take the safety and security of paramount importance, and we would not return people unless we were doing so in a slow and controlled manner, with safety being the utmost priority and goal. So I thank the board for their support on this, and the community for their grace and patience with us as we start to work through this process of returning in person.
Thank you, Dr. Averill. And again, yes, I think the entire Board of Ed looks forward to seeing how this develops with these first groups, and then hopefully being able to keep that going and keep the momentum going, and being able to bring additional groups of students back as well. So we applaud you for sticking to what we had all talked about back in July and early August, and keeping us on track with this and creating a plan that, again, as my board colleagues shared as well, I think really does this in a very prudent and successful way for the benefit of our entire community. So thank you all, Lane and your entire team. Appreciate it. All right, so moving on to 12.03 Board of Education report. Mr. Westphal.
Thanks, Kevin. Wilco, we met on Tuesday, September 15th. First item we discussed was our audit presentation by Mack and Associates, and we passed the audit with flying colors. We also approved expenditures in the amount of $219,007.26 for the month of September. And then we also discussed our enrollment for total students. We are at 1,443, and I have some of the breakdowns for our particular schools that are involved. Our initial spring enrollment for Plainfield Central High School was 196. That has gone down now to 179, but it's still an increase over last year. Plainfield South went from 230 students earlier this year to 202, but it's an increase over, still a large increase over last year. Plainfield North, last year we had 87 students enrolled. This year we have 69, which is still more than the previous year. Plainfield East had 141 that first signed up, and they are at 127, which is down a little bit from last year. Plainfield P-STEP program went up 1. Plainfield Academy went up 4. So the Plainfield School District still contributes. We still have the largest enrollment of students at Wilco. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Westphal. We have no unfinished or new business, so 15.01, Freedom of Information Request status, Dr. Averill?
We have received one Freedom of Information request since our last Board of Education meeting from Dr. Carla Peters for material regarding HVAC, maintenance and related purchases. That was submitted on September 17, 2020, due September 24th, completed September 24th, 2020.
Thank you, sir. 16.01, announcements and scheduled activities.
We anticipate, or I'm sorry, Monday, October 12th is a holiday, Columbus Day. There is no school on that day. And we anticipate our next Board of Education meeting to be held remotely. It will be on Tuesday, October 13th, 2020, 6:30 closed session, 7:30 public session.
Thank you, sir. You're not looking to have a second closed session, so I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Bob?
Second.
Second, Mike? Charlie?
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Ms. Doyle, whoops, Mr. Roby,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
Mr. Kerber.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.